So joining us today, we have Mansi from UCLA, right? Before we start, we'll just have a quick introduction to get to know you a little better. So your school and high school board,
Greenwood High International School,
so IB or IG?
IB.
Right.
IG in ninth and 10th grade, then IB in 11th and 12th.
Okay. So your college and year of graduation,
UCLA 2024, so this is my senior year, and I'm majoring in human biology and society, which is sort of like public health.
other colleges that you applied to?
I've went to USC, all of the UCs except UC Santa Cruz, UC Merced and Riverside, Emory, Boston University, Duke, UNC, University of Michigan, UW, and WashU.
All right. Okay. So I know you mentioned human biology, right? So
Mhm.
how did that interest really come out? And like, what are your goals with your major?
Yeah, of course. Very interesting situation. Okay, so I was always interested in science, and I grew up in the Bay Area in California. And I was always interested in science, but then I moved to India, to Bangalore, actually, in ninth grade. So I did my entire high school experience there, and I saw that biology, medicine, healthcare is so much more than just at the molecular, cellular, and clinical level. Like it's so much more about your personal life, your mental health challenges, the society you're surrounded by, the environment you live in. So that's kind of where my interest in public health came in. And I think human biology and society. So the key word in my major is and society. Like I think it's really important for us as individuals who learn about biology or chemistry or physics, any subject really, to incorporate the idea of contextual factors to understand what environment your decisions are being made in and what the context is around just medicine, healthcare, and health and clinical stuff as a whole. So that's kind of where I'm going with that. I'm interested in applying to med school in the future. I'm going to be applying soon. In the future, I want to be a pediatrician, but also I want to do something creative in health promotion and incorporating and just raising awareness for these various factors that impact health. So, not sure how I'm gonna go about that yet. It's a very malleable field, but we'll see.
All right. Okay, so you obviously went to Greenwood, right? How challenging was school for you? And like, what did you really do to like ace IB and IG?
I love to talk about this because I was not at all the topper. I was not a star student from the beginning. I would still say I was not a star student. So in IB, my first 11th grade finals, I got a 36 on 42. And I was like pretty upset with that score, even though it's not even that bad. It's like it's just mediocre and I thought I could do better. In 12th grade, I got a 38 on 42, and then my final IB score was a 41 on 45, which I personally never thought I would be able to get, especially moving from California and the States, where education is not as heavily stressed upon. It's more of like building yourself as a well-rounded individual. And up until middle school, education is pretty lax. Like it's pretty chill, right? And in India, in Greenwood, especially, if anyone has experience with Greenwood, they're all on you. They are on you to do well, to ace those exams, to do well in your boards. And I think you need to build good skill sets in the beginning. Try to not get bogged down by what your teachers are saying, because in Greenwood the environment is like that. Like it's very stressful, and if you take that to heart, if you take that and just surround yourself with all that toxicity, it can get to you, right? So taking a step back, reminding yourself why you're interested in the subjects you're learning, taking time with the teachers you connect with, and meeting with them outside of class, and meeting with them just generally to learn, to take extra, like, help with that stuff. Like I would meet with my biology teacher, my econ teacher, and my math teacher a lot because I just liked those teachers. I had affinity with them. I didn't have affinity with the subject necessarily, but like just getting to know them led me to gaining interest in the subject too. So just a lot of realizing your weaknesses and trying to make those weaknesses better, because a lot of the time we focus on our strengths and we study the subjects we like, and we don't really focus on the weaknesses, which is what leads to the lower scores in some certain areas and subjects. Another thing with IB is it teaches you time management very well, which really helps in college. In the moment you don't realize it, but it really does help in college, and it's a great program overall that I think everyone should do.
All right. So just touching upon that, right? Time management. Did you
Mhm.
feel like you were able to manage your time like effectively, and like what did you really do for that?
Yeah, I definitely improved. In ninth and 10th grade, it was very, so I started off here, right? Because I came from America where it was just crazy because in America we had just science as a subject, right? And in Greenwood there was biology, chemistry, and physics. And like I had just not learned those subjects as in depth as my classmates did in middle school. I joined in high school, right? So in ninth and 10th grade, it was a lot just catching up on academics and trying to get me to the same level and even like, to excel, right? Like to be the best I can be, right? Not even just like out competing them, just being the best version of myself. In 11th and 12th grade, I got way better with time management and realizing that there's so much more, right? Like I need to do for college applications. There's also so much more being a good friend, being a good person, being a good family member. So I took a lot of time to just, like making schedules really helped for me. Coming back from school and realizing, like, okay, this is my to do list for the next 2 days. I have this exam coming up. I have Indian education. It's a lot of the times we don't have like homework or assignments as much as we do, like, okay, we got to prepare for our unit tests or we got to prepare for our midterm exams or whatever, right? So it gets easy to get to kind of slack off and be like, okay, I'm just going to study and cram at the end. But I think really setting time aside, like, okay, these are chapters I learned today in class. Like, let me review them at the end of the week. Let me keep a singular day for each subject or whatever, right? Like in IB, you have 6 subjects. It's quite a lot to handle. So making a schedule, I think writing it down like really solidified it for me and like helped me stay accountable. Like, okay, I really have to do this because I already wrote it down. And also just keeping time for like spending time with friends and in college applications. I think like we can talk about this later, but so hard. Like mental health is so important when you're doing college applications. Staying sane, staying happy, and staying not stressed is so important. So yeah.
All right, very cool. Going into your like test scores and stuff a little bit. What did you do about like APs and like SATs and like SAT versus ACT and stuff like that? What were
Yeah.
Yeah, so did you take any
Sorry.
APs and what did your standardized testing look like?
I didn't take any APs. I am a strong believer in having mentored a lot of kids in with their college applications. I don't think you need to do APs if you're doing IB. The only reason I would recommend you do APs is if you are applying for a major, like your school doesn't offer a class in that, right? Like if you're applying for like a film major and I don't know if they have AP film, but like if you're applying as a film major and they don't provide IB film or media or whatever in your school, then I would take an AP exam. But otherwise, I don't think you need to take an AP exam if you're an IB. I didn't take one and I was fine. None of my friends took one. For SAT was pretty big when I was applying still. Like I know it's kind of wishy-washy now. Also subject tests were a thing when I was applying. I know it's not a thing anymore, but for SAT, my first one was it was a 1440. And I remember, so one thing we need to know as international students, they curve like for us, the curves are terrible. Like you miss like 3 questions and your score goes from an 800 to like a 720. It's terrible. So I think I had a 720 in math and 720 in reading and writing or whatever that section is. Then I took it a second time and I did worse. I got a 1410. And I took it a third time and I got a 1540. So that's kind of what I stuck with. It was definitely hard to like push myself and take. I think that's like why I do college application mentorship, because I think it's important to realize that people get into schools like UCLA. UCLA is so hard to get into these days. You don't have to be like, a lot of it is hard work. We're not automatically great students. Like you have to put in a lot of work to get where you are, right? SAT versus ACT. I know there's this preconceived notion that like people who are applying to STEM majors should take ACTs because they have like more science-based passages. I don't think so. Take a practice test in both and decide which one is more comfortable for you. That's what I did. I felt more comfortable with the SAT. The ACT was a little more, I just didn't like it. personally. And I think that it's as easy as that. Make the decision based on what you're more comfortable in.
All right. So then, like your extracurriculars, right? Did you feel like they were a strong part of your application, and like, especially for like in India, people struggle with it quite a lot, right? Do you feel like it was enough to make you stand out? Like, could you walk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, of course. My extracurriculars, I think, were the key to my success in my college applications. I spent a lot of time on them. I spent more time in like 11th grade on my extracurriculars and rounding them than like my academics, I would say, which is why maybe like I had lower scores. But I was really, really passionate about my extracurriculars, and that's what I advise everyone to do. Build a strong theme around them. And I really took time to reflect as to what my goals were and what I want my theme to be. And every single one of my activities contributed to that theme that I was trying to show colleges and stuff. Like even when I got into USC, my admissions counselor reached out to me and she was like, your extracurriculars and like an essay that I wrote that really, really like pushed me over the top because my scores and everything weren't so amazing. But she was like, that's really what put you to the top, right? For her personally. So my extracurriculars, I started a NGO, which is called Mission Seva. I passed it on to someone else now, but it was basically where we equipped differently abled individuals with the skills and abilities to make products so that they can self-sustain themselves. It's very hard for them to be full-fledged adults but still be reliant on their parents for income and just being dependent on them for their entire life. So that's kind of what I focused on. My second one was a research paper on the intersection of film and health. And that's kind of where I was talking about in the beginning. Like there are so many factors that just determine your health. And I think film and media is still one of them. I'm still doing this. Film and media and the intersection of film and media and health is my utmost passion. Like I would love to work at the intersection of that. It's interesting because I think the reason Indian students struggle with extracurriculars is because you have to make the opportunities for yourself in India. I think there's more opportunities here than there, definitely. And don't be afraid to make those opportunities for yourself. Go out to people, reach out to them, and be like, hey, this is what I want to do. There's no work required from your end. I just need blah, blah, blah resources, A, B, C, blah, blah, blah. Can you help me with this? If not, move on to someone else. There's so many people who, if you want to help people, there's so many people in need, right? Don't be like oh, white savior type and come and help them or whatever, but try to really understand you're from the community, right? Like go into the communities and see what help they need if you need more volunteering hours or whatever, right? Whatever it is. I was also a political advocate where like I had a few connections in politics with my grandma because she's in politics. And so I would regularly go and like attend political debates and stuff like that, which are very like, I don't know. I was never really into it. So I worked on like I just like debated with them like a lot. I just went and spoke to them. It was basically just the contextual factors surrounding health, right? It was economics with my Mission Seva stuff, like how differently abled individuals aren't able to excel like in mentally and physically in terms of their health because of the fact that they were economically reliant on their parents. Same with the film and health, same with the politics. And then there was a lot, I was in an investment competition run by Wharton. And so it was very like, I don't seem like a typical biology major, right? But that's what intrigued the admissions counselors. That's what drew them to me and made them read my application. So it was a lot of back and forth with that.
Okay, so coming back, like, right, like, what was the application process like for you overall? Did you feel like Greenwood, was a good enough environment? Did you have to like enlist external counselors and stuff? What was it like for you?
So my college application process was I didn't have any like older siblings or anyone who like went through the process. I didn't have anyone like to like look up to in terms of that. Like it was just a lot of people like seniors from Greenwood who I would just reach out to and ask for their help. So I think in that sense, the network of Greenwood alumni are every one of us is so successful. And there's a reason behind it, right? Like we all berate Greenwood a lot. Like it was blah blah blah. But there's a reason we're also successful. So I think the network really, really helped me. I like seeked a lot of help from the like my seniors and all that. I was like, okay, like how do I go about this? Like, what do you think is really, really important for pre-med? Because I was applying as a pre-med. So there are quite a few people like that. I also think our counselors, I don't think they were like amazing, right? Like not top tier, but I personally really liked my counselor. The thing with Greenwood is like they have a lot of turnover with their staff and like teachers and counselors. So I think it's like sometimes really hard for people to build long-term relationships with the people that work there, like who you work with as students. So my college counselor was changed literally in the middle of 11th grade. So it was really hard for me because I had to tell that new college counselor every single new thing about my life. And like I had to like catch her up on everything that was happening, which was not ideal, but I ended up really, really gelling with this counselor. She was like from like the same part of Rajasthan my parents are from. And like it was like crazy, right? And I think it's all about like building connections and seeking out your existing network. I didn't feel the need to enlist outside help from counselors, but I know there's people who do, and that there's nothing wrong with that, right? Like I think do whatever you can, but it's not an absolute necessary. Reach out to people at your school, at Greenwood, like whatever, wherever you go, and ask them for help, and they will be more than willing to help. Like they were seniors who literally edited my like essays and like gave me feedback and stuff.
Very cool. So I think we're getting close to the end here, right? But
Mhm.
again, the essays, right? You mentioned it, but do you feel like you were able to differentiate yourself with them? And like, what did you choose to write about, and like, how did you decide between them?
Essays are probably the hardest part because it requires a lot of self-reflection, which I don't think is prioritized in Indian education. If there's one thing I would change, like if I got the opportunity to change anything about that, would be to reflect more because a lot of times we're trying to impress the college admissions counselors and it prevents us from showing them our true personality. And I think that's what's important. That's what I tried to do. I tried to mix a unique fact and unique, interesting part of me and my personality with a academic interest or a extracurricular activity. So what I did is growing up, I had like this like unique naming system, and like my entire essay is available on my YouTube channel if anyone wants to like check it out. But I had like a unique naming system like when I was little, like not even unique, it was just silly, it was fun, where I would like give funny nicknames to like my friends and my family and all that. I talked about how that kind of translated into Mission Seva and how the people were like working there, the differently abled individuals gave me a name and how it kind of went full circle and it was like a full circle moment for me. I loved my essay because I thought it showed my personality, showed them that I was an interesting individual while also showing them the impact I've made. And that's kind of what I wrote about in my Common App. My UC essays were, in my opinion, very well rounded. I think that's what they want to see. Again, fully available on my YouTube channel. My USC essay was my favorite one. I still have to upload a video about my USC essay, but that was fully on like film and media and health. I think that was very, it showed my personality while also showing my academic interest. And that's what I recommend everyone to do. They want to see you as an interesting person who's going to contribute to the campus academically and non-academically. So if you show that through your essays, you're golden.
Okay, so just reflecting back one last time, if you could give yourself or even other people in the same position like some final advice, what do you think it would be?
Start early. Don't start thinking about extracurriculars, your theme, in 11th grade like me. It's what I did because I realized, oh man, time's ticking, like I gotta start. So start in ninth grade. Try to, even if you don't know your interests at that point, explore, reflect, build those good habits that you're gonna need in your college application and college as a whole. Start that early. And I think that's like literally the key to success, in my opinion.